Hi everyone, and welcome to the Starseed Dragon channel. We are doing a review. This one was actually requested by one of our subscribers here on this channel. It is the Shadowscapes Tarot by Stephanie Pui Mun. Okay, and let me see. I have a link in the description box. It is an affiliate link to where I purchased it. And even though I always say that I have the affiliate link, I gotta tell you, I've had an affiliate account with Amazon for years and I have never been paid 1 red cent. So, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, this is a tarot deck. Let's open her up, shall we? Ooh, pretty. Okay, I'm gonna put on the string. Oh, this looks like a nice size. So I'm just gonna read the meanings on these cards, just for the sake of time. You can, if you enjoy this deck and want to purchase it for yourself, you can enjoy the rest of the descriptions. Okay? These are, that's very pretty. The lovers. Wait. Where's the page? Aha. Okay. So, let's see how many pages we have here. 253. Beautiful. Beautiful book. Okay, and here are the cards. Let me, before I unwrap them, let's measure them, shall we? Why not? So we've got about 4 3/4 inches, or what is that, 12 centimeters by 3 inches, or what is that, 7.5 centimeters? Okay, so here we go. We're unwrapping them. We're doing this. We're unwrapping it. Let's see. So they don't have any gilding on them. This is the back side of them. Very pretty. Trying not to get into the ring light because they're shiny. And so they've got a silver frame. And we're just going to go through these. How's that sound? Let me get a little bit closer. And there we go. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. First card up is the Fool. Let me get to it. The Fool, meaning, she stands on the edge of a very sheer precipice, with only the ribbons and the doves bearing her up if she chooses to leap. The fox takes this in. He watches. He is the embodiment of cleverness, but being clever does not preclude being a fool of a different sort. He can't comprehend the leap of faith that she is about to take. So who's the fool? She for stepping out into the unknown in what seems to be a complete lack of logic, or the fox for being too firmly rooted in the belief of the reality of intellectual thought. The Fool is a symbol for new beginnings and adventures, pleasure, passion. She rushes ahead, thoughtless and rash, doing before thinking, obeying instincts, Like the fool, you may stand upon the precipice of gazing out into the unknown, the endless expanse of blue. Nothing is all that fills the space between that high up, airy, and the ground that is so very far away. There is either an oblivious foolishness to the terrible plunge you may experience, or else a wild spirit of adventure and great faith and knowledge in what can and will bear you up and guide you through the times to come. There are unlimited possibilities opening up for the seeker. Beautiful. Next up, the Magician. Meaning, originality, creativity, skill, willpower, self-confidence, dexterity, and sleight of hand. It is about grasping the unseen around you and harnessing it to become reality, drawing forth the ineffable into the material realm of existence. This magician draws upon relics representative of the elements, fire in his lantern, the voice of the sea in the shell, a breath of wind in the raven's feather, and earth from the leaves. He knows what he wants, and he knows he can make it happen with conscious exertion of his will and his knowledge of how to manipulate the world. Beautiful. It's quite beautiful. Next up, the High Priestess. Meaning, wisdom, knowledge, learning, intuition, purity, virtue. The High Priestess lifts her arms out, and in that gesture, her very body becomes the living symbol of a chalice. The owl is a keeper of knowledge, and he bears a key to unlock mysteries. The pomegranate is an icon of Persephone, who tasted the seeds and thus tied herself to Hades. It is a fruit of fertility and death. The moons embroidered upon her garments wax and wane, the new crescent and gibbous moons that create the full cycle embraced in one. Wow, that's quite gorgeous. Next up, the Empress. Quite beautiful cards. Meaning, creativity, generosity, patience, love. The Empress is about abundance, experiencing the senses and embracing the natural. She is a creator. She is the mother, fertile and nurturing. Clasped to her body like a child, she holds a basket of the earth's bounty, fruits and sheaves of wheat and glorious flowers. She is the primal essence and embodiment of life, and is deeply tied to nature. Crowned in ivy, she is clasped in garments and colors of the world around her. Beautiful. Next card. The Emperor. Wow, that's a gorgeous card. I think that's probably the prettiest emperor I've ever seen. Meaning, creating order out of chaos, authority, leadership, strength, establishing law and order. The carvings on the wall bear the symbols of the domain and of the dominion. The eagle ascends above mountains and sea, night and day, ruling over all. The earthly creatures bow to that mastery. But even though the imagery of the carvings may be magnificent, still a wall is a man-made edifice. Man's measure and means of controlling the wildness of the world by attempting to carve it into unchanging stone. Man's desire to control and etch out and write the story of his own destiny. The Emperor is a man rooted in his ways and views and regimes. or regimens rather, but confident that this is the right structure and way of things. Interesting. Beautiful card. Next card, the Hierophants. The Hierophant's roots reach deep, entwined around secrets and traditions and the ages. He believes in ritual and ceremony and pursuing knowledge and deeper meaning. And in the rigidity of a belief system, he elucidates the spiritual and brings it to the earthly plane. He is calm and in possession of himself, and he is the teacher who can help unravel mysteries. Beautiful. Next card, the Lovers. Union, balance, energy, flow, love, desire, passion, melding of heart and mind, forming a union or marriage. Though it can be romantic in nature, it's not necessarily so. The Lovers is also about determining values and struggling with choices. The innocence embodied in the turtle doves is a contrast to the shiny red apple in the embrace of the snake, one of the oldest symbols of temptation. Likewise, the pure simplicity of the calla lily contrasts the lush and sensual complexity of a rose. Beautiful. Next card, the Chariots. Triumph over obstacles, achieving victory, focusing intent and will, establishing an identity, self-confidence, maintaining discipline, assuming the reins of power and authority, and driving with the unwavering certainty in a cause. Control must be exercised in a constantly changing environment that can and will present challenges. In the landscape of a world that is constantly shifting with people and emotions and circumstances all around, like the tenuous border where sea meets sky, a constant tension of push and pull of air against liquid is maintained. And to ride to victory, one must be able to achieve the confidence and knowledge to walk upon that fragile surface. Beautiful. Next up, strength. Courage, calm composure and patience, compassion, persuasion, and self-control, tempered force. Managing impulses to control anger and force, rather than being manipulated by them. One must have faith in success, though it might not come at once, and it may not come very easy. The lion is fierce, and the fire he guards is a flame that burns. Strength must be tempered sometimes. Unshakable resolve is what will see through to the desired end. There are many kinds of strength. There is fierce and bestial power, brute force of tooth and claw, the fierce winged protectiveness called forth by a swan for her young. There is the steady strength of an oak springing from a tiny acorn, but growing into a mighty tree. There is the strength of bamboo, swaying and internalizing forces from around, but not breaking. The softer the touch, the stronger the arm, remember. Next up is the Hermit. Beautiful illustrations. Being introspective, seeking solitude, withdrawing from the world, and giving or receiving guidance. The Hermit is an inspirational friend and teacher, and his help can illuminate the secrets of one's own mind. That which was mysterious can be made clear with the proper light to shine on the situation. The loon's glide on silent wings across the horizon, elusive shadows in the night. They are symbols of peace and tranquility, and their eerily haunting call that echoes across waterways is laden with ancient wisdom. Loons are also respected for their knowledge of the sky, sea, and forest worlds, and have often been seen in the headdresses of Indian chiefs. Next up, the Wheel of Fortune. Right? Am I on the right page? The Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune, destiny, the weaving of life's threads coming together, fate, turning points, movement and change, patterns and cycles, an interconnected world. The knot work in this stained glass window circles around the wheel as a single golden thread without start or finish. The rise and fall of the wheel as it turns, is as the changes of life. If the world seems to be closing in and crushing hope with its weight, step back to see the bigger picture and the upturn that is soon to come. Beautiful. Next up, justice. Balance, harmony, equilibrium, assuming responsibility, weighing all sides of an issue before making a decision. Choosing with full awareness, justice relies on a logical mind capable of objective ruling on situations and adjusting what needs reassessment. Meditation on rights, morality, and duty, and perhaps compromise must be made in order to truly even both sides of the situation. Admit and acknowledge the truth. Comprehend the results of your actions and the connections they have to everything around, and from that set a course for the future. Next up, the Hanged Man. Letting go and surrendering to experience an emotional release, accepting what is and giving up control, suspending action, sacrifice. As Odin hung upon the world tree, Yggdrasil in his quest for knowledge, thus to attain the greatest rewards, one must be willing to give up the self. The Hanged Man also urges you to reverse your view of the world and see things in a new light. Sometimes a change in one's perception of the world is required, a subtle shifting of the state of mind. Beautiful. Next up is the Death card. That's a beautiful card. I'm going to make sure that you can still see all of this. Yes, you can. Okay. Meaning, closing the door to the past and opening a new one, going through transition, changing status, shedding the old and excess, bowing to inexorable forces and sweeping changes. The old must be set aside and burned away to make way for the new. The ancient story of the phoenix is one that is echoed and repeated in dozens of cultures. She is death and rebirth and life encapsulated in a single symbol. Irises are associated with death, as Iris was the Greek goddess of the rainbow, which she used to travel down to earth with messages from the gods and to transport women's souls to the underworld. Deadly nightshade is a highly poisonous plant, symbol of deception, danger, and death. And sumac, in the Victorian language of flowers, says, "I shall survive the change." Sumac are very resilient, and they grow like weeds. Sumac trees. Next one, temperance. Beautiful. Harmony and equilibrium, balancing of opposites, healing, moderation of extremes, self-restraint, harnessing absolute forces, and reining them in to be wielded to a purpose. Holding opposites apart from one another denies their power of unity. By drawing them together to merge in a measured fashion and understanding what one bestows upon the other, a beautiful synthesis can be created. Sometimes all that holds the two apart is a wall of belief. Being flexible and understanding that there is more than one way to perceive the world can go a long way towards breaking down that invisible wall. Wow. The Devil, losing independence, addiction and enslavement, caught up in the material realm, overindulgence, choosing to stay in the dark, pleasures, lust, and desire, feeling hopelessness close in and limit the options. The devil plays on your desires with a masterful touch. Break free from the puppeteer's strings by looking beyond the material blockades and temptations. Next up, the Tower. Wow. That is an image. Wow. Catastrophe, sudden change, crisis, releasing all emotions, suffering a blow to the ego, revelation and seeing through illusions, a necessary disruption to the status quo, violent and explosive upheaval as the only way to break through the long-established patterns, fantasies shattered by the harsh and brutal hand of reality, making a clean and utter severing from the past. It is time to re-examine belief structures and opinions. Next up, the Star. Oh, that's a pretty card. The Star. Regaining hope, faith in the future, inspiration. Finding the still and silent place within your being of serenity, tranquility amid trouble. Harmony, offering without reservations, sharing and being generous. The harshness of daylight or even moonlight is gone, and there is nothing but the calm and non-judgmental eyes of the stars. There is a peace to that. A space to gather up, prepare, and uplift the spirit. Let loose doubts and fears to the embrace of the night. The stars have always been symbols of guidance and hope, the light to lead you home. A resilient fish, carp symbolize strength, perseverance, courage, and determination of spirit. The chrysanthemums, commonly representative of longevity, are also symbols of hope. Interesting. Okay. Next up, the Moon. Fears and anxieties, believing illusions, experiencing distortion, chasing after fantasy, dreams and visions, disorientation. The Fae are masterful at the arts of illusion, and the dangers of stepping into a mushroom fairy ring are well known. The moon is the realm beyond the known and comfortable and predictable. It is the other world, awesome and inspiring in its own right, and daunting and dangerous if ill-respected. It is easy to be the wayward traveler who is distracted by the will-o'-the-wisps and led astray to be lost, wandering in the woods. But if one keeps the wits about, a glimpse beyond the bounds of sunlit reality is the rarest honor and most inspiring of enchantments. It is a doorway to hidden unknowns and the wellspring of mingled dark and light that seeps forth from there. That is the gift of the moon. Beautiful. Next up, the sun. The sun. Meaning enlightenment and understanding, glory achieving prominence. The constant renewal of life, vitality filled with radiant joy and energy, invigoration, and good health. Being full of assurance and confidence, a clarity of vision and purpose lit by the clear daylight. From the times of ancient civilizations up to the present, the sun has always been a symbol of life and growth. It has been embodied in vibrant gods and goddesses in cultures throughout the ages. Young and glorious and brilliant, full of vigor and blazing splendor. The strength and power of the gods pours forth in the nourishing glow of the sun. Beautiful. Next up, judgment. Release and renewal, absolution, the freshness of a new dawn, a new start, making a judgment. Though it might be harsh and difficult to face, the necessity of hard choices. Face down those decisions. Recognize the need and forgive. Reawakening the mystery of birth and death. The voice of destiny summons you onward. Hearing the undeniable call and being drawn to act upon it, knowing what must be done. Beautiful. And here we go. The world. Beautiful. Satisfaction and peace of mind. A successful conclusion and the end is in sight. Achieving balance, melding and blending to bring together in unison the multiple songs of life. The world is a card of realized goals and prosperity. It is a state of completion, though not without a share of involvement and hard work to attain. When one's goals have been reached, there is a space, a quiet breath of a moment in time when a feeling of ultimate fulfillment spills through the consciousness. It is a wondrous and precious moment, the culmination of hard work to see your dreams come true and to know that elusively methodical treasure promised in fairy tales, the heart's desire. Beautiful. So we're going to start with the suits, and our first suit is the Wands. We have the Ace of Wands. And let's see how we got it going on here. Okay. So this is probably going to take a little longer. Ace. It is the possibility of creativity, excitement, adventure, a challenge to step forward with courage and confidence. Plant the wand firmly in the ground and see it blaze forth with crimson light. Like a response of flint striking tinder, inspiration blooms from that illumination. The spirits and sylphs are drawn forth from their dwellings. In ordinary light they hide, indistinguishable from leaf and twig and stone and sky. But in this glow, they slip out and stretch their wings. They sense that something is beginning. A spark has been lit. A challenge has been whispered. An invitation has been extended in this dawn hour. Once lit, fire is unpredictable and difficult to control. Uncontained energy can flare into a raging wildfire. Seize this wild opportunity and glory in the blaze. They are beings of fire and the guardians of the wands, foxes, cats, lions. They flash with the sparks of intellect and wit, with fleet bodies that dart through the world, and with the burning flame of a fierce and strong spirit. Two of Wands. She surveys the lands that lie before her. This is her domain. It is filled with her subjects, and she has ruled over all that the eye can see from this high vantage point, as have her ancestors before her. For a moment her sight hazes, and she sees a vision of what she might accomplish in the years to come, having been granted this power. At last, this is the chance to bring her dreams to fruition and to build the reality that she long has envisioned for these lands. She knows she must grasp the reins of power tightly. She must be bold and certain and unwavering in the path that she etches for her people. For there are those who would be swift to pounce and take her place should weakness be detected. Her companion, the lion, knows his place as king of the beasts. He embodies courage and authority. From the pinnacle, he boldly stares down any who dare to challenge the two of them. He lifts his mighty head, shakes back the fiery, crackling mane, and his roar rings out across the valley as if to mark the farthest edges of their dominion with the reach of his voice. The Two of Wands is the emblem of personal power and influence, authority and courage. Now is the time to be bold and inventive, and not to shy away from doing what is necessary, but also beware of letting the intoxication of power cloud the mind and judgment. Next card. Three of Wands. This is the bridge that stretches to the edge of the world. Its lower steps beckon for the brave and the curious to step up and begin that trek. It arcs out across the sky, but then it goes no further. She pauses a moment, does not look down, and then steps forward into what seems to be empty space. She feels sturdy rock and shale materialize under her feet. She realizes then that this entire bridge has been built by the steps and the dreams of others. She takes a breath and then begins to make her own strides. She takes the next step and the next, and the bridge begins to grow beneath her feet. The Three of Wands invites you to explore, seek out the uncharted, expand your horizons, take a long view of situations, and express leadership. Beautiful. Next up, Four of Wands. Spring has arrived and the flowers are in bloom. The roses send forth their sweet scent as an invitation to the dwellers of the Fey realms. The ground trembles as the unicorns of the east, the Kirun, spring forward to heed the call and lead the fairy hosts on this rite of celebration. The chill has left the air, but this respite is but a moment to enjoy, and then the greater work must begin afterwards. Until then, this time must be made the most of. The heralds lift up their trumpets, and the clarion call echoes out to the dawn. The wind tangles in manes and wings, and trails in their wake. Faster and faster they ride, until the world is a blur of color, and then, with a cry of jubilation, they spring up into the air and ride across the skies. The Four of Wands calls for celebration. Initial successes have brought hope and joy to the air. There is harmony and peace to be had. However, once attained, this prosperity must be maintained as well. Take a moment to breathe and enjoy, but be prepared to continue with the work that has achieved this point. The fire must remain lit. It must be fed constantly to keep the blaze going and not be allowed to die out to embers. Let go of limitations and embrace the freedom being offered. Next card. Five of Wands. At the forefront of the pack, the hare sprints away. It darts past rocks and trees, slips under branches. Its paws flash across the ground with the race of adrenaline in its veins, the red, living pulse of blood that his pursuers sense. It drives them to a frenzy as they race after that elusive and pale streak. They race against each other, nearly climbing upon each other's backs in their efforts of chase, leaping from the tops of the wands, springing wildly through the air, everyone for himself. And through the battle of fiery brindled fur, he charges. They do all they can to obstruct him, as if for more enjoyment of conflict. It is like swimming upstream against a powerful surge. Exhaustion burns in the muscles and the lungs. At times, there is a thin voice from within that urges, just lie down, let the tide of strife wash over and past. But no, to do so would be to be trampled beneath the onrush. He does not falter. He feels his own pulse. He feels his own pulse heat up with the excitement of his strife. It is an uphill struggle of living obstacles that he wades through. He feels a bit like the hare himself, struggling to break through to get to his haven. In the Five of Wands, sometimes it seems... Okay, sorry about that. Ran out of memory. But here we go. The last part of the Five of Wands was, let's see, when gathered together, these minor obstructions become an overwhelming wall to overcome. But take heart and let the adrenaline awaken body and mind to rise to the challenge. Answer that challenge not with despair, but with renewed vigor. Appreciate the unknown strengths that are drawn forth when faced with difficulties. Beautiful. And the next one is the Six of Wands. And it says, he stands upon the stone lion, symbol of kings and emperors, and proclaims his ascendancy with a triumphant declaration. Even the lion bows his head and closes his jaws to this victor. It lies quiescent and submissive. He bears his wand like a scepter and raises aloft the laurel crown. He knows his star is rising, and he dares any to challenge him. He has seen many challenges come and go, brave knights and foolish knights. The clever ones who thought to outwit him, the famed ones with their followers, and those who were full of bravado but little skill. None have yet been able to best him. He is confident in his own strength and abilities, prideful and arrogant, certain that there is no one equal to his might. And yet he reached this position by fighting through the masses and distinguishing himself. Perhaps the one challenger who will beat him eventually is still waiting in the wings for his own time, waiting for the right moment to strike, to take down this overly confident king. The Six of Wands symbolizes victory and triumph. One has prevailed and overcome many obstacles to come out on top, but you must beware falling prey to hubris and lassitude that uncontested victory may bring, and not become lost in self-importance. That is true. That is very, very true. Okay. Seven of Wands. The vixen faces off against a badger, while her kits watch from beneath the protective curl of her tail. The enemies circle and circle. They seize each other up. A nip here to test the swiftness of reaction, a swipe to press the defenses. The vixen snarls and lunges forward, for she has her brood to protect, and she will not fail them. Fear for her kits burns in her heart. Her actions are necessity, not merely courage, and yet it is all the more courageous for being such a selfless act, without the tangle of thoughts and justifications. Her mere belief makes her fight 10 times more fiercely with a fiery strength. The bamboo of the wands signifies strength and fortitude. Bamboo possesses a slender suppleness that sways in the winds and does not break. It grows tenaciously and sends out multitudinous shoots in all directions, the better to compete for sun and space. The Seven of Wands represents taking a stand, defending what you believe in. The world is full of strife and stiff competition, and one must have courage in facing the difficulties that come. Do not buckle under a stiff wind, but sway like the bamboo. Seemingly insurmountable odds can be overcome with faith and courage. Beautiful. The Eight of Wands. She sets her staff before her, step by step, to the top of the rise. The glow globes wave lacy fronds on either side of the path. She remembers how a childhood friend called them wishes, and that to take one and blow myriad seeds to the wind would send that wish out. And the farther those seedlings traveled, the more power for truth and fulfillment they would gain. She bends down to pluck one. With the puff of a breath, she sends the seedlings on their way. It is the ending of the lovely flower that blooms so delicately into elaborate spheres of ethereal beauty, but the beginning of a new growth. The seeds spin away on the wind on the wild winds, at the mercy of entropy, but sailing with the purpose nature bestowed on them with the gift of gossamer filaments. Sail away and beyond, and then set down to grow to become a mighty tree. The Eight of Wands is the beginning of a long journey towards a goal. A great undertaking is at hand, and it speeds towards reward with hope and momentum. Beautiful. Next up is the Nine of Wands. The sentinels keep watch from above, ever wary, ever vigilant. They are the eternal guardians. They defend against the unknowns that lie hidden in the abyss. Perhaps it is just light and mist and the edge of the world, but they have not yet ventured beyond to see with their own eyes. They know only that they have been charged to watch, gaze glued to the west, from where the light fades each dying day. When the last rays shoot forth and the green flash bids the sun farewell, what will come from night's abyss? Can their forces withstand the assault? They have not yet been tested. Each day when the dusk fades to black, they wait for their unnamed foe and strain their eyes to the western darkness and wonder if this will be the night he comes. It is easy to be proud, tall, and at attention when the strength of the sun shines upon their shoulders. It is much harder to keep that through the silence of the twilight hours, and yet they hold true, for they know one day they will be needed. Vigilance is the watchword for the Nine of Wands. It urges you to keep strength in reserve and to always be prepared for any eventuality. Retain a core of power. Even more importantly, know that inner strength is, for sometimes we possess an ability to endure through travails that is not evident until put to the test. It is easy, though, to become lax and to lose the edge when the challenge does not rise as quickly or as often as expected. Maintaining that acuity can be the most difficult challenge of all. It can. Next up, Ten of Wands. This dryad bears the weight of what seems to be a miniature world upon her back. Her branches are weighted down, bent beneath the heavy structures. The support and welfare of the beings who inhabit those towers are hers to nourish with the flow of life's sap through her branches and leaves. Their souls are the songs that spiral up through the foliage from her heart, but the gray cold seeps into her roots, and it is a hard burden to bear. She pushes and strains upwards, reaches towards the sun for that fire that can help to sustain through dark times. The fires of the wands are burning low, and it may seem that there are only embers left from the great roaring furnace that was. So many demands and dependencies. She struggles and tries to keep her head uplifted, to hold to that center of creativity and nourishment. Overextending, taking on far too much, burdened with overwhelming responsibility, being held accountable, doing things the hard way. Perhaps those little things who live among her branches do not need the constant watchfulness and nourishment that she believes must be her duty, and yet it is given freely. The burden is taken on willingly, and she knows she has the strength within to bear it and flourish. Page of Wands. Music is the universal language of mankind. The Page of Wands is creative and passionate. She is witty, charismatic, and unspoken with her philosophy. She knows her mind and is direct and forthright when she has an opinion. She may be a teacher, eager to pass on that kernel of knowledge that she possesses. She is the fiery spark of initiative, inventive, and she dares to delve within and seek out the opportunities that may be frightening but have so much potential. Sometimes the actions that push you to the limits of comfort are most rewarding. She tells you, do and do not sit there with only mute desire. Action is what is important. Can you hear her song ringing? Queen of Wands. Knight of Wands. My pages are stuck together. Knight, here we go. He is a knight with a blazing lion's heart and the sparking cleverness of foxes, though not always the wisdom to match it. He recklessly rides, crashing through the world, leaping from cliffs in heroic bounds towards his destination. Such a wondrously heroic sight to glimpse him as he passes. Destiny, faith, and purity of his goal shine with an effervescent glow in his eyes, so that perhaps he does not notice the flowers he may trample along the path in his headlong plunge. Be wary of allowing the wild temper and flaming energy of this knight to cause discord and interruption. Next up is the Queen of Wands. Okay. The Queen of Wands is dedicated, engaging, and attractive. She is always cheerful and upbeat. She knows the role of a queen and plays it with perfect calm assurance. She is used to being the center of attention and knows it is her due. Her presence exudes confidence and the knowledge that she can handle anything and anyone. It is not arrogance, but a simple understanding and truthful assessment of her skills and abilities. It is easy for her charms to be turned towards darker purposes of deceit and manipulation. She guards against this temptation. Mesmerized by this, the world hushes at her entrance to hear her, see her, and bathe in her radiance. Her exuberance in life sings out as her hands dance across trills and runs and glissandos upon the living harp. Beautiful. Next up is the King of Wands. The King of Wands is charismatic. The force of his charm is irresistible, such that the very world seems to mold to his desires and bow to his will. He is a source of inspiration and bears his mantle of authority with an ease, as if he were born to it. It is his natural element, burning bright within him, blazing in his blood, in his voice, and searing all that his gaze touches. He is the spirit of the lion within him, proud and fierce, dominant and unafraid to chase down what he desires. He springs forth into action with confidence, strength, and lithe grace of that great beast. He is bold and does not balk at taking chances or striking out upon new risky paths. Next up is the Suit of Cups. And we start with the Ace. It is the initial drop of water that falls upon the glass smooth surface of a lake. There is an almost imperceptible ripple that starts to spread in expanding rings. It is the shrug of a tiny earthquake that sends a shudder up through ocean waters to culminate in crashing waves upon a distant shore. It is the first stirring of emotion, of compassion and love, of intimacy, and of attunement. It is this tiny drop of potential that will join into a river of all the other mingled droplets from humanity. They all trickle together to flow into one vast sea of swirling emotions. The still surface of the water in the suit of cups is like a scrying mirror. Delve into those crystalline depths, heed the twinges of intuition, and then raise the glass and drink deeply. This grail shines with a light of understanding and inner knowledge. These are the guardians of the cups, the denizens of the deep, the fish and the ancient spirits of the sea. They swim with a fluid grace through the ocean's depths, living in a dance of eternal motion. The waxing and waning of the moon pulls the tides and currents of the sea to swell and ebb, and this rhythm is felt thrumming through the blood of all who dwell in the ocean's embrace. Beautiful. Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is about making a connection, a union, a partnership. It is the bringing together of opposites and the potential for bonding. It is a relationship. Like a living organism, relationships grow. The ones that are strong become pillars of stability, and the weak connections are gradually forgotten and fall apart. Three of Cups. The very movement of all the beings who swim through the waters is an elegant dance of undulation, a powerful slicing through the waves. The liquid dance of the sea bursts to the surface, and the song echoes to the vast vault of the heavens. The Three of Cups is a call to celebration, dancing and singing. Friendship is its key component, and companionship, relying on others and developing community and team spirit. And the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups represents self-absorption, introspection, sinking too deeply into one's own concerns and being lost in reveries. Awareness of anything else fades and the world seems gray, but the outside world has much to offer if you tear your gaze away from your own reflection. Next up, the Five of Cups wallows in regret and loss. It is rejection of pleasure, feeling sorrow, and wishing for what might have been. The Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is a reminder of childhood innocence, good intentions, noble impulses, simple joys and pleasures. It is not meant to be overly sentimental, but more an urging to remember the open-mindedness of a child's perspective and to push back the narrowness that folds in on you over time with the complexities of life and responsibility. Next up is the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups involves indulging in fantasies. You have too many options to choose from. With so many paths, that task becomes daunting. There are too many desires. Some of them are within the realm of reality. Others, not so much. Some are wise courses of actions. Others are merely sing with the siren song of temptation that could lead to a destructive path. There are unlimited possibilities. Next up is the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups shimmers with the distant touch of the sun's rays from above. They tumble down into the depths. The falling glimmer and shine urges you to move on to catch hold of one of them. Now is the time to let go and allow all the weariness to ripple away from you and fade into the waves. The Nine of Cups. Fish are symbolic of health, prosperity, and good fortune. The Nine of Cups entices with the pleasure of the senses, satisfaction, and wish fulfillment. The future is assured, and there is bounty on the horizon. Next up, more fishes. 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups is the final attainment of serenity and peace. Success and happiness have been granted at last. An all-encompassing emotional contentment, not just a physical or material pleasure. Family support and bonds are important to being able to enjoy the blessings of life. Next up is the Page of Cups. The Page of Cups is sentimental. She is a true romantic at heart, and in a world that is filled with so much noise and bustle, she longs for the time and space to simply breathe and to truly take in the pleasures that abound. She listens to the still voice from deep inside that speaks with understanding and intuition, and she longs to believe in the impossible. Quite true, quite true. The Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups follows his dreams. He lets his intuition guide him on his journeys. Sea sprites and foamy sylphs tell him of the wonders far beyond the explored lands, and he yearns to follow those spirits and see with his own eyes. The Golden Grail embodies the perfection he yearns for. He knows if he remains honest and faithful and follows the truths that his heart speaks, that he can one day taste from that cup. The waves churn in his wake, and he does not know nor care what lurks below the sapphire waves. He sees only the beauty that sparkles in the spraying droplets. Next up is the Queen of Cups. Let's see. The very being of the Queen of Cups is a creative nexus. She is poetry in motion, imagination incarnate. She can dance upon the swells of the ever-shifting, ever-changing seas in unison with the dance of life that engages all of the world and its creatures around her. She heeds her intuitions and follows her heart. She listens to the whispers of the stars, for she knows they are much wiser than any being on this earth. They have witnessed the world from when the seas were young. Though her steps seem random and impulsive, she relies upon a deep-seated knowledge. She draws her strength from the vast abyss of the ocean, the ancients of the deeps, the sea turtles, the wise ones of the ocean. They come swimming up to join her in a joyous celebration. The world that they jointly move in is like a dream. Everything is fluid, one element melding into the next. It is the shifting landscape of the subconscious, overlapping with the material being of reality. This is the essence of creation and artistic expression. Guided by instincts, she is attuned to that other world and finds joy in that communion of kindred spirits. For someone else who did possess a comprehension of her synchronicity, a misstep from her position would mean a plunge into fathomable depths, unfathomable depths. But not so for the Queen of Cups. She dances on, embraced by the endless azure ocean and heavens, and where the sea meets the sky, there is no seam. Beautiful. Next up is the King of Cups. Like the seahorse, the King of Cups is a protector. He cares for and watches over all those who are near to him. He offers a drink from his healing waters. He offers compassion and care. His message is to let the currents flow through your veins to cleanse your heart of its burdens. He is patient and tolerant and understands that all aspects and needs of the people around him must be balanced. Beautiful. Next up is the Suit of Swords. And we start with the Ace. A sword is double-edged. It can slice with the swift assurance of justice to clear the obstructions that hide the truth. It can be the beacon to use intelligence and fairness to achieve clarity. Or it can be wielded with the arrogance of raw power in the heat of rage. These are the two sides of the strength that is embodied in this weapon, two very different uses of force to work one's will upon the world. Something is beginning now. The winds gather in whirling eddies to summon the guardians of the skies, the wisps and the souls and the feathered ones. From that vortex, something arises that will force the duality of the Ace of Swords to slice one way or the other. These are the sylphs of the air and the guardians for the swords, the winged beings of the sky. A swan is lovely. She possesses downy white feathers and a slender neck that arcs with a sinuous grace. But that delicacy is a facade that cloaks a strong body and fierce nature that is unafraid of standing up. The swan will fight to protect its own, and strong wings open to catch and ride the winds across great distances. That's true. Swans are really, really mean. I'm just saying. They're mean. Okay. Two of Swords. But I digress, right? Swans are mean. Okay. The Two of Swords is a stalemate, an impasse. Neither side will compromise, and so no progress can be made until one chooses to step aside. It is a lockstep balance, a strange dance that struggles to find some grace without yielding any ground. It is a denial of truth, an avoidance of what is clear before your eyes or hiding in your heart. Open your eyes, urges the swan, proffering a token, a flower, a poppy that is the sleeping death that existence becomes when stubborn barriers cannot be laid aside. Open your heart, urges the swan, tendering the beating gem, the heart that stills when there is only the desire to take and not give. Wow. That's a pretty deep card. Okay, next up, everyone's favorite, the Three of Swords. There is grief and heartbreak in the Three of Swords. There is a feeling of loneliness, separation, and isolation. There is no one to give solace or lend a hand. Has everyone deserted in this time of greatest need? The world abandons and betrays by turning its back on the destruction of beauty and the rendering of a fragile emotional state. Overcome the pain. The weeping of the heart is perhaps a necessary cleansing. Let that torment drain away. Be purified of the black blood, and then lift up white wings to dance with the sky once again. So sad. Four of Swords. Four of Swords. The Four of Swords urges you to take a moment of respite. Close your eyes and find that still and silent place at your core, where inner strength resides. Draw from that reserve in the times to come. Because, you just got heartbroken, right? Okay, Five of Swords. Boy, swords are the most bummer suit, right? Okay, Five of Swords is a sign of discord and conflict of interests. The choices arrayed make it easy to profit and look to one's own concerns, for it feels the world is allied against you. Perhaps a wider view of the world might eclipse this feeling. True. That is true. I like that definition. Okay. Six of Swords is a passage away from difficulties. It is a chance to recover after tribulations. Too much change from a bewildering world has perhaps induced despondency that you must find a way to lift out of. True. Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords represents an attempt to escape responsibility. It is the thief who tries to make away with what is not his. He dishonorably tries to keep everything for himself and is two-faced to those who attempt to approach. The result of such an outlook on the world is uncertainty. For if one is untrustworthy, then why risk having faith in others as well? Deception breeds distrust and a pessimistic viewpoint. Like I said, bummer, right? Okay, next up is the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is a reminder not to waste energy on the trivial. It is easy to freeze up in a crisis, to feel restricted, confused, powerless, and trapped by circumstances. But there is always a way out if you take a moment to breathe and reassess. Self-imposed restrictions. Yes. Nine of Swords. Okay. He suffers from anguish. The swords tattooed upon his breast are pinpricked markings of the regrets he experiences. He is tormented by inner fear, anxiety, guilt, and uncertainties in the night. He is a being of the air. His wings should carry him aloft, and the sky should be open and expansive and a world of freedom. Instead, it feels like a trap closing its jaws upon him with the howling winds of the approaching storm. And yet, if he were to just cast aside those doubts, he could be as free as the storm crows that spiral in untroubled arcs above. Interesting. Very, very interesting. The Nine of Swords swirls with inner turmoil. It is a moment of vulnerability, with the soul laid bare to its own demons. Guilt and fear lock muscles into immobility. Understand the source of those fears. Learn what they mean and where they stem from. Know that the strength to break free of those shackles lies within one's own heart. Agreed. And the Ten of Swords. Wow. The Ten of Swords represents misfortune, desolation, burdens to bear, ruin, the end of delusions. It feels like circumstances have instigated a spiraling and uncontrolled plunge. Like her fall, sometimes circumstances are beyond human control. Sometimes there is nothing to do but ride it out and pick up the pieces when things finally come to a halt, and learn from the mishaps. Remember, Ten of Swords is the ultimate betrayal, right? It's the ending of a hard time, though, and the beginning of a new cycle. Yes. So, not all gloom and doom, right? Depends on your perspective. The Page of Swords embodies honesty and truthfulness. She is unafraid to scrutinize her beliefs. She looks at the balance of black and white around her without condemning, and she knows the measure of her own soul. She is unafraid of emotion, though she does not let emotions rule the decisions she makes. Logic is what dominates her the most. Her mind is agile and analytical, and she uses that to guide her sense of purpose and assess situations. She stretches her perceptions to try to make room for the new and unknown. Beautiful. And the next one is the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is the brave hero who rushes headlong into conflict to defend his beliefs. He is blunt and comes directly to his point. Dissembling is not something he is capable of. This can be seen as a refreshing honesty and true loyalty, or a lack of tact and discretion. True. He does not let emotion come between him and his purpose. Emotion in his matters is extraneous, muddying what is obvious, allowing room for doubt or fear. An emotionless knight is fearless, invincible, and does not acknowledge the possibility of defeat. He does not back down once he is engaged, for he knows no other option but victory. The knight is a domineering personality. He rides upon the king of the birds, and together they are like a spear through the heavens. He is a seeker, slicing through the skies with his sword and his wings. A storm gathers in his wake, born of the turbulence his winged army creates, and he is lifted high above it all to pierce through the chaos. The sword is a beacon to his followers. Okay. Yeah. Probably the fastest moving knight. He just charges right on in, right? Just charges right on in. Damned be the consequences, right? The Queen of Swords. Let me make sure you're still in the shot. Yeah, okay. Queen of Swords is an intelligent woman, loyal, witty, and humorous in her forthright way. She is valued for her accurate perceptions of the world around her and for her experiences. She has gazed within and knows that when she turns her eyes to a mirror, the reflection is exactly what it should be, and the light that shines within her soul blazes bright in the glass. In the language of flowers, purple dragon lilies are symbols of inner strength, and white chrysanthemums, truth. Wow. Okay. Like the vertical sword, this is the King of Swords. Like the vertical sword he holds at the ready, he is a pillar of strength and morality. He holds power over life and death. He is a warrior king, sword always drawn so that he can be prepared to spring to action should the need arise. He is a leader riding triumphantly at the forefront of his army. He carries through with his actions, following the path of truth that the blade lights for him. He is led on by the silent wisdom of the owl. She perches balanced upon the very tip of his blade, and her eyes swirl with all the ancient knowledge that her kind has been imbued with by human beliefs. Mirroring the owl, he is also led by the shadowy ravens that trail at his side like Hugin and Muggin, Odin's twin ravens, thought and memory. They fly away to seek out truths and bring their findings back to be whispered in his ear. In conjunction, they are the balance of night and day. They are the sharp clarity of the sun, and the owl is the truth that can only be heard distinctly in velvety light of stars and moon. This is what is embodied in those avian companions. The shadows of the night descend upon his shoulders, a living mantle of purple, a color the ancient Greeks associated with royalty, and the base of the throne is etched with Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, symbolic of the blend of art and science, of the symmetry in the human body and the whole of the universe. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, our last suit is Pentacles, and this is the Ace. It is the possibility of prosperity, abundance, and security. It is the promise of wealth and well-being, of flourishing and reaping the rewards of hard work. Energy spent will see returns. A seed has been dropped into the fertile earth. What will sprout from that seed? What strange flora will burst forth? The suit of Pentacles is a promise that something will come, but it will require patience and work. What grows is what you make of it. The seed must be watered and nurtured, for nothing grows in a void. And success requires more than dreams and fantasies. Water with desire, and nurture with faith and effort and diligence. In ancient Egypt, the lizard was representative of good fortune and divine wisdom. They are the denizens of the earth and the guardians for the pentacles. Salamanders, chameleons, dragons. They lead the way from nebulous dreams and the fantastic, ever-changing realms of desires and wishes into the reality of being, of tangible actuality, and of the world. Go dragons! Right? Okay. Here we go. Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles is a balancing act, juggling and keeping everything in motion, being flexible and adaptable, and changing directions easily. Meet these challenges that tumble your way with high spirits, but be wary of taking on too much at once. Next up is the Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles is the embodiment of teamwork, of functioning together as a unit. It underscores competence and achieving beyond the expected. Sometimes the support of others is required to achieve a goal. Not everything can be accomplished solo. Not everything needs to be accomplished alone. Reaching out to others is no failing, but working with others requires patience, planning, and compromise to adhere to standards of cooperation. That's right. We learned that from Sesame Street, right? Cooperation. Okay. We have the Four of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles embodies a possessive spirit, one who wants always to be in control. As a result, he lives within limitations, a cage of his own making, and is highly averse to any change. He is obstructive, in denial of his own weaknesses, chained by those very weaknesses. He is a miserly and miserable being who is financially well off, but with a spirit that has been locked down by that preoccupation with his material state. Letting go of that selfishness might bring more happiness than that hoard has done for him so far. Truth be told. Okay. Next up is the Five of Pentacles. And that is probably one of the prettiest Five of Pentacles cards I've seen. The Five of Pentacles is indicative of spiritual poverty, material troubles, insecurity, and hard times. There is a neglecting of the body's needs, a feeling of being ostracized and excluded, of loss. And yet, salvation is not far off. If you can make that connection and see past the mental and physical blockades, even the thorny bush that she views as her only companion bears flowers. Aww. Pretty. Next up is the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles represents the cycles of dependencies between those that have and those that have not. The sapling pushes through from the mud and muck and desolation under the shower of life and wealth from above. The piper does not see or notice it, thinks perhaps that he is part of a one-sided equation of generosity. But at the same time, the plants and branches buttress up the towering wall that he purchased from. Their rootlets creep into the crevices and bind the structure with their mesh of life, protection from erosion, bracing. One supports the other like an Ouroboros, a self-sustaining cycle. In such a linked circumstance, who is it truly that is the benefactor? Who holds the power? Well, we all know that the Six of Pentacles is equal, give and take. Yes? Okay. Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles challenges you to make a choice, to eat and enjoy the fruits in the basket, or to leave them to flower and ripen and continue upon the branch. It is about reaping the reward for effort and work. The seeds have been sown, the time of work and waiting has passed. They have grown and come to fruition. Now is the moment to appreciate. It is a calm moment of consideration of alternatives and different approaches. Beautiful. Next up is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles embodies a craftsman, someone possessing great patience and who is attentive to details. It is a call to be absorbed in a project, to seek out knowledge and pursue a higher understanding. But this must be done with practical experience, using one's own hands and body and mind to create. This is often what is required to achieve success. A practical application of intellect and skill to a task to see through to the finish. It's mastery, right? Mastering your skills. And the Nine of Pentacles. These are awfully beautiful cards. The Nine of Pentacles is a balance of the material with the spiritual. It is material well-being and refinement, discipline in order to attain such, relying on oneself and trusting in one's own abilities. It is understanding and appreciating the wealth that one already possesses. Beautiful. And we have the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is about enjoying affluence, desiring the permanence that financial security can bring, and being able to appreciate luxury and the good fortune that has befallen you. This is the ultimate in worldly success, the result of long-term efforts finally brought to fruition, of finally being able to settle in to a lasting beneficial situation and position. Beautiful. Page of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles comes bearing her message for opportunities of growth and prosperity. It is a small spark she holds, but she is just the harbinger for potential. Make of that spark what you will, a mere smoldering coal or the blaze of a rising star. But that choice and vision is something that each individual must find on their own, using skills and resources at hand. She is trustworthy, diligent, studious, and embraces scholarship. She is practical, down to earth, one who reflects before acting, but at the same time is unafraid to embrace a world of physical enjoyment. She is light-hearted and joyous, and her spirit is entwined with everything around her. Beautiful. And we have the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is stubbornly set in his ways and on his path, locked onto his goal, with almost a tunnel vision mentality. This may seem to be a failing, but it can also be incredibly effective. He sees and knows exactly what he wants and where his destination is, and he moves steadily toward it in an implacable way. When he reaches that goal, he strikes with all the force of the earth that is his to summon. The weighty might of giants, the thunderous roll of an earthquake, the thrusting of a mighty tree's roots through soil and stone. Beautiful. The Queen of Pentacles yearns to nurture and care for others. She is brimming with generosity and possesses a warmth of spirit that glows from her eyes. The fan of branches arrayed around her figure are reminiscent of the 10-armed Hindu goddess Durga, embodiment of feminine creative energy. She is dedication, a protector, and one who is reliable and trustworthy. She is secure in her material possessions and her position in life. The Queen of Pentacles will lend her support to any who ask. She has strength that she draws from the very oak tree that she is a part of, or that is a part of her. She is willing to share the strength that is drawn down from the sustaining golden power of life and warmth of the sun itself into her branches and transmuted into purest energy. Carry this as a token and a reminder that I am always here, she says, taking a leaf from the boughs that whisper a singing susurrus from around her. They sigh in 100 voices, an eerie harmony of the secrets that they hold for her. Interesting. And our last card, the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles bears a seed in his hand. It gleams golden with an inner light, and it pulses as if it contains a heartbeat that speaks with a humble promise to sprout. The leaves strain forth to bask in that radiance. The branches offer ripe, honeyed fruits, each luscious globe swelling with tantalizing sweet juices. His branches strain upwards like the proud tines of a stag. He is at once man and tree and dragon, all intertwined, interlocked, entangled. He is a king of the material world. This king is an enterprising individual, a man possessing of multifarious talents. He has the golden touch of Midas, gilding everything around him with a sumptuous gleam. Then he lays his hands upon a venture, it is bound for success. When he sets his mind to an idea, it becomes polished brilliance. He is reliable and adept at what he does. He is a steady and solid support should you need someone to lean on. The eternal strength and stability of the trees is his to draw from. Roots spread far and deep, taking energy from the dark, gloomy wells of the earth, from the caverns of the earth guardians, from the lairs of dragons, and from the ancient stones and bones of the deep. With that stabilizing force, he stretches branches and arms and aspirations to the stars. He is an inspiration for success and still is generous and willing to share his wealth and fortune. Partake of the fruit he offers. He knows that wealth will be shared and shared again, and from those fruits, new seeds will sprout and grow to be mighty trees. Beautiful. Well, I really enjoyed this. I hope that you did too. The Shadowscapes tarot. And let me just get a little farther away here so I can put this away. I believe that this is going to end up being part of a giveaway later on down the road. So we have that to look forward to. So make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. And then you'll be notified when I put up more videos and when I do videos for giveaways, right? I hope that you really enjoyed this beautiful tarot deck. And there is an affiliate link in the description box below if you would like to purchase one for yourself. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.